here with Gerald Chertavian, founder and CEO of Europe. Gerald, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So tell us about the mission of the organization.
Well, in a nutshell, what Europe does is works with low-income 18 to 24-year-olds, and in 1 year moves those young adults from poverty to a professional career. We do that with a source of intensive training and development for 6 months, and then an internship with a Fortune 1000 company for 6 months, all wrapped within students earning college credit while they do this.
And so you're tackling a big problem in narrowing the opportunity gap. It's really important to the economy of our country. Can you sort of define and scope out that problem for us?
What's called opportunity youth, so those who are not in school, not working, and don't have more than a high school degree, is about 6.7 million young adults today in America, and it's now almost 19% of all young adults in the country. So if you can imagine, how do you have a democracy or a civil society when almost 1 out of 5 of your young people are truly out of the mainstream and indeed in risk of really falling into some pretty negative consequences?
Are we getting there, or are we miles and miles to go in terms of a governmental response, a business response, to truly try to tackle the problem?
Right. We are trying, but we are a long way away, I would say. And I think we have to engage business leaders in looking at how they solve some of our social challenges. Imagine if employers said, you provide me with a young person who's capable, who's motivated, who's trained, regardless of where they come from. You know, so if 2 or 3% of your new hires come from that opportunity youth group, you would literally change the problem overnight.
Europe has been in business for 14 years. What are some key lessons that people may or may not fully realize or appreciate?
So what we've absolutely proven is that the young adult you may see on the street who may have come from a disadvantaged background absolutely irrevocably can be your next best worker. And I think one of the lessons is this is not a magic problem to solve. This is a reality. You give someone an opportunity in this country, they want to take it.
Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the things that were defining for you in leading you to found Europe?
Sure. So most of my defining moment revolved around a 10-year-old boy from the Dominican Republic. And so I was really spending every Saturday of my life with that young boy who lived in the most heavily photographed crime scene in New York City. So this was a relatively dangerous place in the 80s. In really talking with David and his 4 older brothers, and just seeing where were they starting from, what was in their grasp and not in their grasp, and also listening to their dreams and listening to their hopes, seeing their brilliance, that absolutely changed my life and led me to conclude that perhaps the way I was looking at it in the past was not accurate, that I'd obtained gratefully a better view.
What is the big bet that you're making with Europe?
So for Europe, we talk about the 1 million person model. So we talk about, for us, and that means when you say 1 million people, we had to recognize you will not fundraise your way to get to 1 million people. And if we can position ourselves increasingly as a successful source of talent for big companies, that we believe can generate a multi-billion-dollar organization, and in so doing, provide the resources to serve hundreds and hundreds of thousands of young people.
What's the continued source of passion for you?
It would almost be impossible for me to lose what fuels me the most, which is seeing a young person who has taken control over their lives and actually earned that good job, who's bought that home. You know, when a young person says to you, Gerald, I grew up in a shelter, right? And now I carry my child over the threshold of the house that we bought with our hard-earned money, that we tuck our child into a bed that they will never be without. It'd defy me to not see that as probably one of the most inspirational, indeed for me, spiritual experiences one could have.
Gerald, thanks for being with us.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.